Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining this morning. Let's go ahead and jump right into today's webinar. My name is Jackson Root, Content Creative Marketing Manager at D10. If you guys have been to any of our webinars before, you know me. And with me is Scott Kirkerberg, our Head of Strategic Alliances at D10. Howdy, Scott. Today, we are taking a look at Q3 2023, and we're going to take a look at Q4 as we go into the next couple of months leading into 2024. So we're going to start off with kind of a little bit of a retrospective. We're going to take a look at the future of what's coming in Q4 into 2024. And then we've got kind of a very cool sneak peek at something brand new from D10. So stick around for that. It's going to be towards the end of the webinar there. We have a lot to cover. Got a pretty fat deck to run through this morning. So as always, as a best practice, we disabled chat. So if you'd like to communicate with us, if you want to ask questions, if you have questions about anything that we're talking about throughout the webinar, please use Q&A. This is a tool for you to use. This is your best way to get in touch with us as we're going through. And Scott and I tend to kind of just like dive right in. So if there's anything you want to know more about, definitely use Q&A. Really, that tells us sometimes that we need to slow down a little bit, cover something a little bit more in depth. And then, of course, we always love Q&A. I certainly love it when you guys engage directly with us rather than us just talking at you. So please definitely use Q&A. So with that, off to kind of a quick start, let's jump right into a little bit of a retrospective. So Scott and I were talking about this earlier. We want to take a look at 2023 and kind of what led to a lot of the innovations in 2023 that we saw, both from Zoom Rooms and Microsoft Teams, and what that kind of means for you guys. Certainly meant a lot for us when we are talking about new features, new products going into the year. So collaboration equity was this term that kind of grew in the beginning of 2023. I remember when it was like early in the year, Scott, you and I were talking about collaboration equity. You're trying to define what it meant. And then by like February, it was like everybody was talking about collaboration equity, right? So this kind of idea where you can foster a culture of inclusion and fairness, giving everybody the opportunity to contribute and be present in every meeting, whether you're in the office or at home. What are your thoughts on collaboration equity?
Yeah, no, for us, for D10, for our brand, our design philosophy, right, is collaboration equity since the beginning. So from the very first device being an all-in-one with whiteboard and annotation, right, collaboration equity has always been right at the core of the experience that we want you to have in the room or at home with the Me Pro. So to see, the industry trend, right, kind of develop around our portfolio, around, our core design values, right, was really cool to kind of sit back and watch. Because like you said, we had been pushing this room experience, right, which we really believe in. And you'll see it, I think, throughout the slides today, right, as we're talking about this. Just the core that when you're in a meeting, when you're in a hybrid work environment, over 90% of the time, something is shared within that meeting, or a collaboration session needs to happen, or a brainstorm. And at that point, you'll see that lending into not just our design of collaboration equity, but how we even approach meeting equity in our cameras and what we're doing in the room to pick everyone up. So that theme is going to continue throughout pretty much everything D10 brings to market, is that sharing content, annotating over it, collaborating leads, to checks off all the boxes, right? More adoption, more productivity, it saves time, it keeps people organized. So all these check boxes that our customers are looking, right, to deploy and find solutions that can check all these boxes, D10 continues, right, to be that brand of choice to deploy from home to the office to the large conference room. And our portfolio here is showing how we've, designed in advance to meet the need of the technology that our customers are needing.
Yeah, and on this slide, I've added the icons for what are Zoom certified solutions and which are our solutions for Microsoft Teams, because going into 2023, right, all of our solutions, I think at the time, were for Zoom rooms. 2023 saw our first solutions for Microsoft Teams rooms being the D7X and the Mate PoE. So now with the Mate PoE as the console on the tabletop, excuse me, the D7X 55 or 75 Android edition on the wall, this is kind of our entry into Microsoft Teams. And we're going to be seeing a lot more of this in 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, as a hardware designer and manufacturer, right, we have that handshake with the software. So of course our computes and everything is built to support advanced video processing, right, and advanced inking and stuff where the software roadmaps are going to continue to develop. But D10 is really a future-proof device for multiple years because we've built the machine to perform even in those environments. So, you know, I'm really excited about where the portfolio is currently, where it's going next year. But it's really driven by use case and behavior, right? We don't start with a product first and then, you know, try and figure out all these ways that it should be used. We're really building ahead of what we think those feature sets are going to be the most important, right, for the customers. And the products are landing early, the features start turning on, and you start to realize, you know, how feature rich and ready these things are, right, deployable today. So, you know, that D7X, our third generation device, the 55-inch, the 75-inch, right? It's on Zoom, it's on Teams. We were able to develop this as a flexible solution, right? We wanted high performance, we wanted flexibility, we wanted our customers to be able to kind of evolve their strategy and their tech stack over time. So having this dual boot D7X has really been a big winner for our customers because it covers the three big boxes, right, that we like to talk about, Jackson, which is a Zoom room, Microsoft Teams room, and then BYOD with our Smart Connect. So even if you are on a different system or you want to run collaboration apps or you want to do things, right, that use our camera and our touchscreen, that Smart Connect has been a pivotal part of rolling out this third generation. So it's the most flexible device you can have in a room. Where if you're still in BYOD, we can support that and we give you high quality conference tools to do that. But really, we know that a native experience is going to be the best. So having access to the Zoom Rooms app, having access to the Microsoft Teams Rooms app, right, is really critical and allowed us to, you know, definitely scale our deployments and bring different use cases to life for our customers. So really pivotal step there, but you know, you get all of the stuff you rely on with the D10 device. So that high quality AV, right? The 4K touchscreen with touch back. So no longer are you having to control your presentation and do things from your laptop. When you touch our actual touchscreen, right? It controls your laptop environment and it lets you stay kind of in presenter mode, which is what a lot of customers wanted. I want to be at the screen. I want to be presenting, lecturing, you know, doing something around not having to go back and forth and kind of break up that experience for who's watching or who's attending. So I think that was a big step forward in bringing the device to meet the expectation of all these use cases. But also, you know, we're doing things with our AV and continuing to develop AI to offload audio and video, process people with our cameras without distortion, right, which we'll talk about. We were able to kind of take some use cases that you might see in the industry and provide a more compelling experience with front of room and the content and the collaboration that you're willing to, you know, that you need to present, right, which is critical.
So the D7X came out, I think,
Yeah.
in late 2022,
Right.
and throughout last year expanded into the 75-inch. We're going to talk about the dual 75 in a minute here, and I've been seeing a lot of questions come in through Q&A. Keep them coming, amazing questions. We're going to tackle all of them, I think, as we go through these slides. So thank you again for that. You know, I think one thing that's really cool about the D7X, we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a minute, is just the flexibility. And Scott, you mentioned scalability as well. Drop the 55-inch to 75-inch into a room, you know, you may be using Zoom rooms today, you might be using Teams tomorrow, you're not really quite sure. When you deploy the D7X system, you can pick at deployment which operating system you want to get into. And I guess I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so we're going to talk about this in a few slides.
Yeah.
But,
But no, you're right.
yeah.
I think I'm looking through Q&A. I think we will touch right on quite a few of these things, either with functionality of the device or room design, right? Room design still has a lot to do with it. So we'll get into companion devices and how you can use, archetypes from all platforms to kind of figure out, right, that how you want to place the devices in the room to accomplish, whatever needs you have.
That's right. Yeah. And I know that we talk about all of our systems so frequently. I think we kind of gloss over a lot of like what really makes the all-in-one amazing, right? So with the D7X, for example, being our flagship, right, you've got the 4K camera in there, you've got the microphones, you've got the stereo speakers, you have the built-in operating system, whether it's native Zoom rooms or native Microsoft Teams rooms, has the built-in compute, so it's all in one. You don't have to plug a separate PC into this system. And of course, it's that multi-touch capacitive touchscreen display for whiteboarding, annotation directly right onto shared content in Zoom rooms, whiteboarding in Microsoft Teams rooms. It's a lot of the benefits of all-in-one being, right, it's a much simpler system to manage, it's quicker to deploy, it's intuitive for all users. With D10 Orbit, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on, it's so easy to keep all of your systems in all of your rooms up and running. And from a single pane of glass, you can really view all of your rooms, your room status, room health, your device health. And it's so easy and so hassle-free to manage an entire campus of devices, right? Whether you have one single building with multiple meeting rooms, or you have multiple buildings with, each has their own set of meeting rooms. You can do that all from a single IT admin. So I know I touched on this earlier, and I mentioned I got a little ahead of myself. Certainly one thing that with the D7X that's so convenient, that flexibility of deciding which meeting platform you want to use. You can decide that at deployment. So the D7X Android specifically, supporting both Zoom Rooms and Microsoft Teams. So there was a question I know about, well, what if I have some D7Xs already and I want to get to Teams later? Well, if you have the Android edition with a factory reset, you can redeploy that device as a Microsoft Teams room.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hardware is one half of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? So it is still necessary for that platform that you decide to invest in and deploy on the device to support different OS and different environments. So, the same application that would run on a component-based system or just a bar alone is not the same application that you would deploy on an all-in-one device, because we do have the touch layering, right? We have things that respond differently than if you were just using a small console or something on the table. So, on the Android side, Zoom and Teams is both supported in an all-in-one environment. So our D7X Android is that dual purpose on startup. So you can select Teams, select Zoom, and we push that image onto the device and put you in a native experience. So on the Windows side, we're still in Zoom Rooms, but over the first half of 2024, there will be releases on the team side that will give you access to that same all-in-one environment on a Windows device. So stay tuned as that timeline, progresses, and it's something we're already involved in starting. But both software companies support all-in-one on Android. So our D7X is that multi environment system. It's the one with dual boot, where you can factory reset that into a different environment. So to mark off some of the questions in Q&A, the platforms are Android only at the time. We expect the first half of 24 to include our Windows devices as well.
So let's talk a little bit about the dual D7X75. This is a system that we came out with, I think, in June of last year. I believe we debuted this at Infocom, or maybe it was Enterprise Connect.
Right. Yeah. You
But
know what I think is cool about the Dual, it kind of encompasses everything that we want to present, right, as a solution for hybrid work, especially a meeting room. It really is all of our technology, right, currently packed into a single device. So we have our, one of our critical things from D10 is people plus content. So we're driving that messaging in a dual display because you're not giving up your screen. You're not sacrificing your meeting equity, your meeting experience for the content. You get to see both of them. So one device is running your smart gallery or your composite view, right? And it's giving you the meeting equity and seeing everyone and having, the same real estate within the meeting. But we're also boom tackling collaboration equity right off the bat, where when you share a piece of content in a meeting, you get it on the second display. It's also touch, so you still get to annotate and collaborate over that, bring up a whiteboard, right, in that environment. So we're checking off the meeting equity, the collaboration equity, but we're also driving our own unique technology stack on this device with our center mount camera. So you'll see on a dual system has the forward-facing speakers. The main room camera is center at eye level, and then we have our View Pro, right, which we'll get more into on the sides. So we're doing, the AI front end, the video processing for a meeting room that size, and we're giving you the people plus content approach. So it really is, what I feel is the ultimate, right, device to tackle every feature set that's kind of new and trending in hybrid work and the whole return to office play. So this really is a super powerful machine packed with just about all the goodies, right, that we can offer from a D10 perspective.
Scott, while you've been talking, I've been flipping through a few slides about the Dual, and I landed here for a second just to kind of, you mentioned that center mount camera, and then of course with View Pro. And there was a question in the chat about, if somebody's annotating on the screen, will they also be on camera? With View Pro, you have so much coverage of the room, right? This is a 5-camera system, which has wide angle cameras, has a narrow field of view camera for distance. It's really all about that clarity at distance within the room, whether you're sitting at the table, whether you get up and move around, right? There's that marriage of hardware, but also software with Smart Gallery, with auto framing, tracking folks throughout the room, whether they're moving around, if they're giving a dynamic presentation. I feel like the D7X Dual 75, as you mentioned, is really the perfect setup for that larger meeting room, just to kind of do anything in hybrid work.
Yeah, and we'll see some designs, I think, later on, right? I saw where we have some room suggestions, right, which would involve a companion device in the room. And that's kind of been the recommended play for a couple years on really grabbing a presenter type of view. We've seen room designs with a camera, further back in the room, pointed back at the wall. Now you have access to things like companion Zoom rooms, where if you put a device on the adjoining wall, then you can use that camera to track the presenter. So to really get into a presentation mode, it's more of a room design. And I think there's some really new, compelling suggestions on how to lay out a room, without a huge investment that will give you the ultimate presentation space.
Very cool. Yeah, and there was a question that came in about, is the Dual 75 or those touchscreens? Yeah, of course, both of them are touchscreens. Within Zoom rooms, right, you need to decide which one will be the touch. So by default, I believe we have the left as the touch screen for whiteboarding, for shared content, and the right would be for meeting participants, the Brady Bunch there on the right side. But you can decide which of the two screens you want to use as the primary touch display. So here's another look at View Pro, and we're going to talk more about this because View Pro really was an amazing release that we came out with this year. The feedback we've had from customers, from partners, from integrators has just been amazing, and it really redefines coverage within a meeting space.
Absolutely. It challenges, current ways of thinking about how to deploy tech and your room design again, right? It's just as important how you set these spaces up and how you deliver, right, that ultimate meeting experience. So in an environment where there are new options as far as multi-cameras placed throughout the room. You could have a center of table camera. You know, our opinion is, and it's backed up right by analysts and the data, that over 90% of meetings that are happening in 3 to 4 or more people are sharing content. There is, you know, it might just be a spreadsheet, it might be a whiteboard, it might be a slide deck, but a huge majority of meetings are very interactive, and collaboration is critical in delivering those meetings. So, you know, us keeping multi-camera system front of room, I think, has clicked with a lot of customers and a lot of analysts and integrators, because you are focused on that content over 90% of the time. And when that happens, as soon as someone hits the share button, as soon as someone opens a whiteboard, all the attention is back to the screens. They're back to front of rooms. So our camera technology is still driving that multi-camera experience in the room. And we're using multiple lenses that are angled differently. So you can see these, you know, the expectation of coverage patterns using those multiple cameras, regardless of your table size or how it's oriented, landscape, or in a horizontal mode. So we're doing a lot of video processing with our own AI to remove duplicates and to frame people, even if they're 30 feet back in a room, without distortion, and really giving you know, optimal clarity when you're in that hybrid type of situation. So someone could be remote on a personal device, you're in a medium-sized room, 30 foot back at a big table, and you're going to appear in the exact same quality using our camera system, which is pretty remarkable. And I think that's the wow moment that you were talking about, Jackson, is how clear and how reliable the video is with the View Pro.
Yeah, I think my slides are a little bit mixed up here, because I think really this is the one that we should be talking about now, right? It's such a nice segue into this, is the fact that with View Pro, you can really tailor the video pickup, right, to the meeting room size. So whether your room is long or skinny or fat or wide, choosing which of those cameras to select as your primary room cameras just gives you so much extra flexibility in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And you're not always able to choose the size or the layout or the dimensions of the room, right? You kind of get handed that, you inherit some that are long throws, some that are wide, and you know, it really allows you to you know, focus on a single tech stack, right? Regardless of funky room size, because we're doing the right stuff with the camera to provide that coverage. Without the distortion, without the fisheye, some of the stuff you might see if you shoot out some different technology options. We're definitely winning in that presentation when it comes to coverage and quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's really nothing like View Pro available today, right? And here's a slide I had earlier, but I think now's a good time to talk about if you have a D7X Windows Edition. And one point I think that it's important that we make is that right now View Pro is only working with the D7X Windows Edition on Zoom Rooms. The D7X Windows Edition, if you have one, you've got a socket on the back. There's a USB-C socket on either side, which you can see those pictures on the right there. You literally can slide the View Pro camera right onto the socket, and then it's ready to use. There's very little setup time at all. You literally install the camera and you just select it as a camera within Zoom Rooms. It's so easy to deploy, and if you have a current gen D7X Windows, you're already ready to go. One thing too that I'll mention is that the USB-C sockets you see on the side here, on the right side of this slide, those won't count against any of the USB slots that are also in the device. So you have a number of USB slots to plug into the D7X. These are separate. These won't count against those available ports. So here's a cool slide I like to throw up when we talk about View Pro, and this is just illustrating the coverage of the system. So in the top left corner within the Zoom Rooms, you can see the actual room view. and you can see that folks are sitting at tables. I think Andrew was toward the back. He's a good like 20, 25 feet away from the system. And then you can see there's the gal here on the left, and then behind her, there's another gentleman, and then to the right, there's somebody else. So it's identifying everybody in the room, cutting them up. And we're talking about Smart Gallery a little bit, but really it's the View Pro is giving them that clarity of video at distance.
Yeah, and it's the obviously advantage over a single camera system, right? If you're deploying just an AV bar and it's not, expandable with multiple cameras, and you're really relying on, a single camera, that's the situation where, that camera can only do so much, and it's grabbing one shot of the room, it's finding people, it's cropping, it's pulling stuff out of that single image and trying to process it. But we know it's never going to be equal with a single camera. So, the time is now for multi-camera systems. We expect the production quality to be better than what we've experienced before in a video meeting. So multi-camera is the answer, and not just 4 or 5 versions of the same camera. We actually have different lenses, different cameras, they're angled differently. So you get a really significant, upgrade in your production quality of this meeting, because our AI is saying, okay, this far field camera needs to pick up this guy like Andrew. He's almost 30 feet back in the room. So my far field camera is going to grab him. I'm going to crop him. I'm going to use ePTZ to bring him into his own frame. And that alone is what gives you that that zero distortion effect compared to somebody who might be 8-10 feet away from the camera, right? We expect them to be high quality, without a lot of degradation in the image. But you're not going to get that for everyone at different, widths and depths in the room. So multi-camera is the answer, and it allows you to really provide, right, this level quality in a meeting. So regardless of how far you are left or right or back in the room, you can expect everyone to look the same with the same quality. So it's really a big jump in what this meeting experience looks like.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the top of the deck, I think 2023 really was the year of collaboration equity. And View Pro really is just such a perfect example of that, right? Getting everybody in the room, giving everybody equal presence, giving everybody, even when you're at home, to feel like you're actually in the room, to feel like your presence is relevant, and that you have equal presence with everybody else has been really important. And I think that we've done a lot with these systems to help that for a lot of folks that have picked up D10 solutions. Before we move off this slide, something really funny is you can see this was shot during one of our Zoom headquarter tours, and the videographer, you see this gentleman here on the left, was actually standing outside the room in the hallway, and View Pro still found him and caught him and framed him up perfectly. So pretty funny how that worked out.
And that's stuff that you're missing from the single camera, right? I think that's important too. So when you look at that top left-hand corner shot, that is what you would get from a single camera in that room. You can see he's not even in that meeting, right?
Yeah.
What the View Pro is doing, it's that left side, it's tracking across the room, left to right. It's identifying that person and cropping him and putting him in his own frame. So pretty remarkable.
So I think in the interest of time, right, let's go ahead and jump into what's happening in 2024. Scott, I know you've been kind of alluding to some of these things that we're seeing from Zoom rooms and Teams, right? One of them being Zoom's new AI. I think before we jump into this slide, if 2023 was the year of collaboration equity, 2024 is looking to be more about AI-driven workflows, AI-enhanced meeting experiences. We're seeing that both from Zoom rooms and Teams.
Yeah, we are, and AI is definitely the buzz, the trend, right? It's where people are investing on the platform side, on the hardware side, and AI kind of is a pretty big term. It encompasses a lot of different things, right? And there's a lot of versions of AI. I think I like to use assistant intelligence, right? It's assisting intelligence, right? Is more where AI is at the moment, especially in rooms, in meeting rooms. So this whole idea of this is going to take over and people don't have to go to meetings. You'll have a bot, responding for them. And, there's all sorts of things where you can obviously spin off right into where this might go. But right now for 2024, it's really assistant intelligence. It's things that are going to help you stay organized, help you save time, be able to process things where they might have been manual in the past. Now you have just a lot of help, right? You have this helper, you have an assistant that's always there with you. And it seems to be the trend for both Zoom and Teams, right? Where this initial offering is going to go. And that's assisting you in your meeting quality, your production quality, and then your follow-up, right? Is where we're going to see a lot of these things go in 2024.
Yeah, appreciate that insight, Scott. There was a question about Intelligent Director. And here you can see that's going to be kind of a bigger player for Zoom rooms in 2024. And of course, we've been talking about multi-camera systems almost this entire webinar. So that is something that we've been experimenting with quite a bit. Of course, it will be supported with D10 devices. It's a really nice way to tie together some of these technologies we've been playing with already with Zoom, with Smart Gallery, with auto framing, with smart framing, and Intelligent Director is just sort of that next step.
Yep, absolutely. And, hate to go backwards in these things because I know we got a lot to talk about, but there are quite a few questions around the View Pro and managing those cameras. So the camera system is completely manageable from an individual level all the way up to a group level. So if you were in your system settings on your device, you would see each one of those cameras. You can select which ones you want to help create that environment. You can turn them off, you can turn them on, or you can rely on AI to do that for you. So you'll have things like video boundaries, you'll reduce duplicates. So all that is, all that's in there. So for us as a hardware provider, we want to show you the raw experience, right? Of the quality, the coverage, right? So we're going to present how big this can be, but obviously software and AI and different controls and system settings can help you manage that. So things like boundaries at certain meters, they're all included in there. Being able to turn a camera off that's pointing a direction that you don't ever want to pick anybody up, or you might have windows there. It's all available, right? That's in the software side. So completely manageable experience. Whether you want to set up how that works or if you want the platform and the AI to do that for you, they're both happening.
Great. Yeah, there's a really great question from John. Thanks, John. So, if you did want to tailor that video, as Scott just mentioned, right, there are a lot of ways you can go about doing that. So one thing that we haven't talked about quite yet, we've definitely referenced it quite a bit, is some of these new tools from Zoom Rooms, one of them being Zoom's companion AI. Right now, this is already available if you have a D7X. Really, I think if you have just Zoom Whiteboard, if you have the advanced whiteboard running, you can use AI to help populate tables. You can use it to help fill out spreadsheets for you right there in the whiteboard. This is available today, and it's something I think we're going to see this being utilized a lot more, and then just the functionality and just the usefulness of this tool definitely is going to expand in 2024.
Absolutely. I mean, just meeting summary and follow-ups and those type of things. I mean, anyone that has those on right now and they're already starting to experience that even from a desktop, scenario, you might be doing it in client, right? Maybe not moved it into rooms or that sort of environment yet, but just having that overlay living with you where your meeting summary shoots out who said what, right? Who it'll actually assign follow-ups to people. So now to see collaboration move into that space where not only does it recommend what those action items were, it's going to spit them out into a whiteboard. It's going to give you sticky notes. It's going to organize those follow-ups by team member, right? Who was talking at the time. So it really is exciting stuff to see just how much Because I know internally, Jackson, we spend a lot of time on meeting summary and follow up, right? What are those action items? We want to be able to execute off of a meeting, not just have a discussion. So seeing this be a big player in helping generate that automatically has been huge, right? And then those same people that were in the meeting, they get assigned to their tasks. They walk away with a follow up. Everyone has a plan. So I definitely think it's a huge benefit to be trying these things and starting to experience them, even if it's reduced from a mobile or a desktop environment. I think you'll see the value right immediately on the time it can save you and how it just keeps people on track.
Yeah, as a hybrid worker myself, yeah, I find all these tools super useful and very exciting. So we talked a little bit about what that'll look like on a D10 device, of course, right? These AI-driven tables are already available within the whiteboard on the D7X, for example. So I mean, this is live today. So this idea of the AI enhanced workflows, breaking up meetings into summaries, using AI to help you kind of steer that conversation. We're going to see that both for Zoom Rooms and Teams. But before we jump into Teams, Companion Whiteboard, or Companion Zoom Room is something that you mentioned earlier, Scott. And this is just a really nice way of adding yet more collaboration space, more camera views, kind of more of that hybrid meeting experience to your meeting rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really opened up and solved a lot of the gaps, I think, in some of the room designs by bringing in, it's a supplemental space, right? It's not all stacked up where you normally would have your gear. I mean, and you can start net new, but it's also meant to increase your tech stack. So if we're looking at this image, and traditionally those two screens would be non-touch, right? You can see someone who's went with a component-based system. They have a PTZ camera up there, right? Something we've all seen thousands of times in the past, but there's no collaboration here. And I think that's, a lot of customers and companies are looking to add to their tech stack. How can we bring this in? So Companion Zoom Room has been a huge development outside of just whiteboard, but now you're bringing in the camera from that device as well. So if we rewind back to presenter mode, right? What's the best way for me to present using a D10 device? I think Companion Zoom Room is definitely should be able to help you execute that presentation environment. So if this guy over here was still presenting at that board and he's talking, is using his hands, he wants to be on camera, then that room camera from the companion device would be pointed back at him, and you could leave it on speaker tracking or presenter mode. And if he steps to the left, steps to the right, it's going to follow him around. And you have that additional camera to kind of secure that use case. If you have deployed D10 as your main room system, then you would have the annotation and the whiteboarding available up there on that touch screen. So it really just allows you to expand not only just in that room, but as long as both devices are on the same subnet, if you're on the same wireless or you're on the same network, that device can be around the wall. And someone in an auxiliary space or someone in an executive office can still be a part of that meeting, have access, have a camera, even though they're not in the same room. So it's a new feature that just came to life a couple months ago, but the use cases and the way that our customers deploying it have been really creative. And I think there's a lot of opportunity here to reevaluate how you're designing that collaboration, your flexible spaces, putting boards on carts. All these things just seem much easier to manage, and with the AI and the software working on top of it, it's all being produced. It's not something that requires someone to be switching cameras or following this stuff. You have the technology now and the software that it'll do that for you.
Jump into Microsoft Teams and what's happening there in 2024. And I think this kind of mirrors a lot of things in Zoom Rooms. Obviously, Zoom was a little bit quicker to the party with Zoom Rooms than Teams. Teams has been kind of playing catch up a little bit. but we're seeing a lot of these features coming to Teams now with Copilot, with IntelliFrame. So I know that the Ignite conference was just last week before that.
Yeah, there's been it's been a big few weeks in the Teams Rooms ecosystem, not just the Ignite show, but we had a big sales enablement boot camp this week as well, and a lot of not just the idea or theoretically, right, what this is going to look like. We're starting to see more of how it actually is going to work in a room environment, and some of the features that it's going to bring. So, similar to, the state of AI right now, it's a really powerful assistant that's going to be built with Copilot in a room's environment. So, some of the things we're seeing around time management, meeting summary, being able to take the stuff that it learned from a meeting and spit out into Microsoft Whiteboard and suggest templates, and there's a lot of things there. I think they're kind of similar regardless of platform. And there's obviously different premium settings and stuff that you can pay for to unlock more features. But right now, I think regardless of platform, it's very assistant driven, and how to save you time and how to be more productive and not have to do all that manually. So exciting stuff from both sides. And then you'll start to see some of the camera features in Teams rooms start to develop and come to life. So, the next version of the Android app will have that second camera, so you can bring in a content camera. We'll start to get multiple cameras and stuff to give you composite views or IntelliFraming and speaker tracking. So they're pretty similar offerings. The timelines are a little bit different, but in either case, D10 has been designing product, right, to meet these feature sets and to be able to catch all this new technology that's coming down, the pipe from both sides. So we've designed our D7X with the compute, with the headroom, with the 4K, across the board. We're ready to accept this, whether it's productivity based or whether it's audio video based. The devices are there and ready to turn these features on as they get released.
So I know I promised you guys a sneak peek at the top of the webinar. So Scott, if you're ready, we're going to kind of blow the lid off this thing. We've got a very, very exciting thing coming in Q4. So we're moving very, very quickly on it. It's a brand new offering from D10, something we haven't had really yet at all. Something that our customers have been asking for a very long time, certainly since we brought our first device to market. And so Scott, let's talk a little bit about the new D10 small room solution that features the D10 bar.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really excited about the D10 bar. It is built with the same design and quality expectation that we deliver from the boards, and some unique selling propositions are built into this product as well, as far as how you use it and the designs that you can come up with. But the first offering is going to be our D10 bar by itself. And the great thing about the bar is it's built on the same chipset and the same environment as our 75-inch Android all-in-one board. So the compute is there to process all the different video renderings and everything that you're going to need in a multi-camera environment. We'll be able to support extensibility with additional cameras, additional microphones. But we're here with the initial core offering, which is a really high quality bar, which I'll let you kind of talk about, the vertical versus horizontal thing, because I think that is super unique in the industry. We're gonna position this similar to how you saw our dual display model, where this can be mounted between two screens. It does give you that vertical and horizontal positioning in the room in case you want to drive a dual display instead of a single display. So I'll let you take over, but I think everyone here is really excited around where this this bar product and this entire ecosystem that we're building around the board plus the bar, and where this is going to go in 2024.
Yeah, something that we've been baking this one for a long time, and we didn't want to come out with the bar prematurely before it really was something unique. And just looking at the reception that we received from the D7X Dual 75, this bar we designed very much in line with that. Scott just referenced it. The camera body inside this thing is a combination of both software and hardware. So you can take the bar, you can mount it horizontally like you see in this image here. You can also mount it vertically between two screens, and the camera will know when you orient the bar vertically to switch to give you a that horizontal view there. So you're also seeing a lit
I'm
LED
excited to have
screen.
a product with a gyroscope in it finally, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking around at all the tech. I'm like, I want to use a gyroscope. This looks awesome. And it's not just digital, it's mechanical, right? Which I think a lot of our alpha testers and our early adopters, right? They notice that when you change this thing from horizontal to vertical, you hear, right, the bar changing. We're rotating the mechanics of the camera. So this isn't, just a software trick. We're actually affecting the hardware to suit that video environment, right? And keep everyone horizontal, at all times. So it is a really cool thing to experience in real life.
Yeah. Also we single cable BYOD is baked into this thing as well. So you've got a single USB-C cable on the table. So you can plug that into your laptop and then immediately utilize all the peripherals in the room directly from that one USB-C cable.
Yeah. Brian had a question around optical zoom, maybe. So what you're seeing here is still the center camera, right? So you're able to run room mode. We're doing obviously smart gallery. We're doing all of those advanced video features from a single camera. But as we evolve the ecosystem, our View Pro are going to come into play. You're able to still run 5 cameras in that room with different field of views, with different field of depth. So there's all sorts of modularity and expansion that you can expect with this to become an entire room system, regardless of size. So you'll be able to take advantage of that high-end camera production quality with the bar and the View Pro system together.
Well, we don't want to give it all away too early because we're going to be talking a lot about this in the next 2 months or so. So stay tuned. A lot more information coming on the bar. It is so cool. I'm super excited about it. I've had the opportunity to actually play with the bar a little bit at our headquarters, and it's so cool. Yeah, I'm totally blown away by it. So keep an eye out for that. A lot more information coming on the bar in the coming months.
Not too much longer to wait, right? January, I think we'll be able to give you guys a full presentation on what this is going to look like and what to expect from the bar ecosystem. So not a crazy big delay, right? We're on track for January, so we'll get through the holidays and we'll be able to have a fresh new product for our portfolio first of the year.
Very cool. Yep, and a question really quickly from Bart. So this will be certified for Zoom rooms at launch, and then we'll be working with teams to have a device for you as well.
Yeah, and a question about certification. So the bar is in both certification processes on Zoom and Teams. So I think between January, February, March, that kind of 3-month time frame, we'll have certification completed on both sides, and you'll be able to provision this device in either environment.
So we're headed towards the end of the deck here. I like to throw in a plug for D10 Orbit. This is something that is really a huge benefit for all of our customers, our IT users. And I mentioned it earlier in the deck too. So with Orbit, right, you can manage your entire fleet of devices, whether it's D7Xs, Duals, Mi Pros, Mates on the tabletop, or even the bars when you start adding those to rooms. You can do that all from a single cloud-based device and user management dashboard, D10 Orbit. right? It's so easy to do. This is also is your direct lifeline to D10 support. So when you go into the D10 orbit, there's a chat bot there. Punch in an inquiry, and that will immediately get you in touch with a live person from D10 support. So this is like really such an incredible tool for you guys. Our users that use it absolutely love it. So if you have D10 devices right now and you're not really utilizing Orbit, definitely spend a little bit more time in there. It is an amazing tool. So
Absolutely.
with that, I want to invite you guys, we talked about the D7X being our flagship. This kind of really is sort of the best expression of all the things we talked about today. Collaboration equity, looking at AI-driven workflows in 2024. We want to invite you to try one in your space. So we just need a little bit of information for you, whether you use Zoom Rooms or Microsoft Teams. So we've got two different links there, d10.com/MTR or d10.com/engage. We'll work with you to get your licenses lined up. We'll get you a device in your hands. Free trial, of course, it's something that we don't want any costs up front for you. We'll work with you as well to make sure that everybody on your team is on board with the trial, with the deployment. So, Scott, this is really your program.
It is because you know how I feel about what we do, and to have a touch screen, to invite a touch environment right into your tech stack, you gotta touch it, right? It's a huge difference maker to be able to take one of these for a test drive and compare it to the non-collaboration stack that you might already have. So if you've deployed bars, if you have component-based systems, this is the best way to kind of judge that gap in experience between that and moving into an all-in-one environment. And it just makes it super easy for our customers, right? They can put it on a cart, they can leave it on a table stand, but just to have access to one-touch join, to check out the whiteboard, to ink, to collaborate over content, right? To do the annotation. So it's a huge difference maker if you take one of these for a test drive. And I'm a firm believer in you got to get your hands on these things to really experience the difference and how much value it brings to your organization. So we've set it up to be the least painful POC experience in the industry, right? So we give you a device in your own environment, take it for a test drive. You have D10 specialists, you have your platform specialist, you have a solid team to make sure that you get the best service possible up front and make that to realize, just how far we go to create an exceptional customer experience. So this is a good little sample of what D10 can do for you. Super easy to sign up, quick form fill, and we follow up in a day or two and we get you set up with a test drive.
So cool. A couple Q&A questions that I think warrant a larger conversation. We'll follow up to you guys outside of the webinar. So there's a question about security on OPSs, something, asking about some new devices for desktop. I think we've been experimenting with some things in the last year. Definitely have a lot of things that are currently cooking right now, but not quite ready to talk about it just yet. So stay tuned for more information on that. I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you, Scott, so much for joining in, of course, today. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Really appreciate you guys tuning in for our webinar. I'll be personally following up with each and every one of you, so keep an eye out for an email from me. I'll be following up with the recording for this webinar so you can share it with colleagues. I'll be following up with some other helpful assets as well. So some hybrid work deployment guides, stuff like that, that's just kind of good for you guys to review.
Yep. Sounds great, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate everyone for joining us today.
All right, guys. Thanks. Happy holidays if we don't see you next month, and we'll see you on the other side.
Adios.